Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1334 of our daily content grind. So, I've been sharing some posts over on Blue Sky about all of the Wild King toys that I've been getting in, and it's drawn a bit of curiosity because, well, frankly, these aren't the easiest things to get. The usual places are not stocking these because, Big Bad, etc., they're not going to be stocking the kids' toy lines as it is, so why would they do it for a Japanese kids toy line? So I am going to be reviewing the two sets you see on screen right now, both Optimus and Megatron with their original partner Energy Beasts. And we'll be doing that this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, so come take a look if you're curious about some Wild King toys. I'll be going into greater detail about everything there. However, because this is an oddball line that's tricky to get a hold of and not cheap to get a hold of, I will add, I thought it would be beneficial to have just one cover-all video that goes across the things you really need to know before you take the plunge on these. So just to make sure that you know what you're getting into, you're saving, you're not jumping into a toy line you're not going to like, etc. I thought this would be a helpful way of approaching it before we go into full reviews. And the first question I think for a lot of people is going to be the size of the toys. So here is your size comparison. They are what I would call bulky Voyager in size. They're a little bit taller than a standard Voyager toy is right now, and they are definitely a lot more bulky. These guys are a little bit swollen because once they combine with the Energy Beast, they're going to get larger. So in order to keep the proportions somewhat intact, yeah, they do have this kind of like swole look to them. And as you can see, it's honestly not terribly far from a leader class toy, weirdly enough. So that gives you an idea of the Energy Masters, Optimus Prime and Megatron. The others are a little bit harder to equate. The Energy Beasts are not something that I can easily define as, oh, well, it's a small deluxe size, or it's a large legend size, or anything like that. This is basically where they stack up. So you can see he's got the height on the 86 Bumblebee mold, but we also know how small that mold is. So it gives you an idea of the height, but look at the difference in bulk. It's not even close. There's no backpack on Light Long here, so don't get that skewed with the backpack on Bumblebee. There's a lot of plastic bulk on that Bumblebee that does not exist on Light Long. And yeah, size-wise, if we're going for plastic bulk and weight, I would put it closer to Windcharger there on the right from the Titans Return Legends class figures. It's somewhere around there as far as how much it weighs and how tall it is. Hopefully this gives everyone a good idea of what they are getting into with the figures, because these are considerably small for the price point that they're going for across the seas. Now, something to really, really drive home here before you buy any of these. No matter how cool or interesting they look, remember, this is the little kids line. Build-wise, transformation-wise, I would equate these not to authentics. That would be a little bit mean. That would be a little bit rude. This is closer to Cyber Battalion, I would say. They feel like the larger scale gimmicky figures that Hasbro would put out for little kids. They have a lot of hollowed spots in them. The articulation is fairly basic and simple. Now, they don't skimp on the paint, at least, because it's Takara. So, they are fully painted, but you can see a lot of gaps in them here. You can see Optimus's transformation is not exactly the most solid when you look at it from the rear. His feet don't do anything, all that. Megatron is much the same. He is just one of those awkward, squat little tanks that cheap Megatron toys tend to turn into these days. So keep that in mind. This is going to feel like a cheap, gimmicky kids toy because in Japan, it is a cheap, gimmicky kids toy. Remember, no matter how interesting it looks, or no matter how fun the gimmick ends up being, this is a replacement for Earthspark, meaning it is for that demographic. It is not a collector's line. Though, yeah, there is definitely some appeal to Transformer fans who want something a little bit weirder. Now, if you're curious about the gimmick itself, across energy beasts and even between these two, um, the gimmick is mostly universal. So as you see here, I have compiled the closest we've ever gotten to a Giltar toy. And if you've never heard of Giltar, go dig into TF Wiki. It's some weird stuff. But yeah, you can see, and it makes sense, because if Optimus and Megatron are both going to be able to combine with these energy beasts for the arm and leg modes, clearly those same joints would be able to be interconnected to themselves. So yeah, you can kind of mix and match your Optimus and Megatrons a little bit, and that's kind of goofy little fun in and of itself. However, not every connection point works the same way. So look at Megatron's legs there. Do you see how there's a bar that goes between the two pegs? So that is a spot where only an energy beast can combine. I tried doing Optimus Prime's legs using the feet mode for Megatron's legs, and I put a nice stress mark in my Optimus as a result, because I was not aware that was a thing until it was too late. So yeah, you're going to be able to find some fun combinations, and yeah, there's a lot of universal connection points here, but not everything is possible. There are a few things that are gated off. Now, weirdly enough, Optimus Prime's legs can use Megatron's feet just fine, but Megatron cannot use Optimus Prime's legs as feet. And this is a weird part to explain if you do not understand the gimmick completely. The lower legs turn into feet for the full large combiners when you have the energy beasts as legs. It's kind of a cool thing. But that's essentially the limitation that I've hit so far. There's probably a few others. If I'm really paying attention, I'll let you know, because I'm still going to be goofing around with these. The similar warning about the element beasts is these are all going to feel very samey. You remember the common complaint I have with Combiner Wars aerial bots, or Combiner Wars toys in general, where because they all had to form the same length arm, the same length leg, and they all had to combine the same ways, it created very limited figures that all kind of felt the same after a while. This is going to feel very much the same, almost to a stronger degree, because all the element beasts share the same basic engineering in order to accomplish just about all of their alt modes. There are very few differences between them. So you can see here the shoulders, the torso, the pelvis, the thighs, the knees, all the same mold. All these are the exact same parts across both of these toys. It's just a lot of clever paint job work in order to make them look as distinct as they do. Now, that said, they do have some unique parts, obviously, in order to accomplish different beasts. And we do have different poses of all these parts in future beasts that we have seen, which is going to give you a little bit more visual variety. But keep in mind, a lot of these are going to transform pretty much exactly the same way. It's just mostly going to come down to where the legs bend to create whatever beast happens to be built from this. And yeah, it's all going to be part forming as well. The head and tail sections of all the beasts are going to be part formed. It's a combining gimmick line, so go in knowing that. But that said, you can do some real stupid stuff with it. You can do some really, really stupid stuff with it. So this is my ostrich and my lizard dog. Oh my god. Like, there's going to be some wild chimera stuff from customizers if anyone gets the right combination of parts here. This might end up being fun to watch if certain people on, just to see what they come up with. But yeah, like, don't just think of it as, oh, the arms and legs modes are all interchangeable and compatible, because that is part of the experience, but you also have some other fun you can do. Keep in mind, mostly universal. That does mean that these guys are all interchangeable too, which I think is a really fun thing that they don't mention anywhere. I think they really need to, because this is stupid, and I gotta love it. Now, let's get into a couple oddities I noticed about this toy line that kind of threw me off the first time I saw it, and it's worth mentioning just in case you were hoping to swap a few certain things around, bring in other parts, etc. You know, if you wanted a deluxe class to have a pickaxe because you really, really have that Fortnite remold in mind for somebody, hold up. So weirdly enough, the weapons are not 5mm pegged. This threw me off tremendously. Like this completely caught me off guard. Like, why would the weapon not have a 5mm peg? And again, I realize it's because it's a gimmick line. They want to make sure the weapons all face the correct direction for some reason. But either way, yeah, the weapons on these toys all have this peg, this dent, this block hanging off of the actual handle, meaning that your standard Transformers will not be able to hold them. So keep that in mind just in case you wanted to do any weird part swapping around with these. But that said, the rest of the hole is 5mm, so yeah, and they do use 5mm ports, so it does allow you to do some oddball stuff with some of this. And, you know, you can use any of your existing Transformer weapons with a Wild King toy if you really want to do something like armorizers or fossilizers on top of everything else these things are doing. Just keep in mind, there's a few pegs on these, specifically the weapon parts, that are not going to be compatible with a standard 5mm peg. That's just a weird warning, but I have to make sure I include it. So for anyone asking about the arms and potential articulation level on them, here is an example for you. So most of the media for this, most of the photos just kind of want you to see it the same way, almost like Cybertron Leo Breaker in a way, where it's just a big arm and there really isn't a whole lot you can do with it. Well, that's not entirely true. There are a few points of articulation you actually can take advantage of when it is in the arm mode. So the bicep rotation on the larger robot will still work. The waist rotation will still work, which kind of acts as, and then also obviously like the universal joints in the hips. So all of that combined basically gives you a universal joint on the wrist of these big combined arms and a swivel at the bicep. Unfortunately, there's nothing that would equate to an elbow, which would have made these like really shocking for a kid's gimmicky line. But you do have some semblance of articulation. It's not a lot, but you can at least do a little bit with it. Just for those who are curious about just how posable these things ended up being. I will tell you this. There's a lot of little points of articulation that are still in these. So there's a lot of weird photos with these toys because Takara is trying to keep certain things in mind when they show you like official modes. So like right here, Light Long's legs are just kind of sticking out the side of Optimus Prime's big arm. They're just kind of sticking out and it looks super weird. But there is enough articulation that you can adjust that. If you're not going to use that bicep swivel, this is a perfectly good combination that will let you kind of keep a better flow, and I think brings that yellow up into the shoulder a little bit better. This works a lot better for me. So yeah, these have some play to them still. You can generally clean these things up to a point where, you know, they look pretty good. Yeah, you know, and you don't have to have these animal legs sticking off of different places. That also, Light Long has that extra little barrel that flips out from his neck, so I'm assuming that it is possible to use as a sniper rifle. I haven't seen that mentioned in any of the production photos. I haven't seen that pointed out, so I thought I just pointed out that there's a few secrets to these things a little bit. There's a little bit more versatility than they let on sometimes. There's one more aspect of the combination, something that I pointed out when we first got to see these toys that I thought was super cool, but it turns out it is not a universal thing. And that is the fact that the forearms do not all have storage. So on Optimus Prime, when you take the forearm off in order to combine onto an energy beast, the forearm can tuck inside of his lower leg. You know, there's a socket in there for it and everything, which is a really cool attention to detail. And that way you actually get to not lose your arms. It's a really good thought by Takara. Megatron cannot do it. Megatron, for whatever reason, he has a 5mm port inside his leg. And yes, the forearms do connect inside. However, taking up some of that space is a component to his vehicle mode's treads, specifically the front of the treads. That can't come out. You can fold it out to reveal the peg and snap in one of the forearms, but then the leg cannot close back up around it. The residual tread piece is just in the way and it can't fold out of the way far enough. So unfortunately, if you're hoping to just get Megatron, you are going to have to keep track of where his arms are when they are combined with an energy beast. Super weird like that. I don't know why. I'll give you one other warning too. I was going to save it for the reviews, but this is worth mentioning. You don't have a specific photo for it, but this comes close actually. The millimeter, like the connection points on these things are just friction-based pegs. So if you are manipulating, say, the arm on this toy, on an Optimus or Megatron, you do have to push up on the bicep to like keep those pegs pushed into the upper arm while you manipulate the joints. If you try to go about it the way you would a standard transformer, you're probably going to pop the arms out a lot. So that's just a word of warning. You're gonna have to handle these just a little bit differently to accommodate the gimmick and not, have an arm fly off at a random point. And the last question is, since Big Bad and since Hasbro Pulse and Big Bad and all this, they aren't getting these in, where do I actually go to buy them? And I'll tell you right now, the place I went to get them, Amazon Japan. If Amazon Japan themselves has it in stock, they can ship to the US, and I assume they can ship to other places as well. Some of these are going to be available only through third parties. Not all of them are willing to ship overseas. So this is just a, keep checking. If it's out of stock from Amazon themselves, don't just go with an alternative. Don't look up middleman services. Just wait. Like Wave 2, for instance, there's only like 2 up for pre-order, I think, right now. You can see one in the upper right. Drill No Horn is up there. Who Amazon has translated to Drillless Horn. I'm going to be very fascinated what his, how his name sounds in the cartoon. Point being, I feel like because these are the kids' gimmicky line, they should be available throughout the year on Amazon Japan. So if you don't mind paying like the import price there, just give it a minute. It'll show back up on from Amazon themselves, and then you should be able to get it at least easily, maybe not affordably, but easily. And that's everything you need to know. Now, as I said, this weekend I'll be reviewing both sets, so you'll be getting a lot more info out of me about how exactly these work, and you'll be able to see them in hand. But until then, that is what I think you need to know for now before you go investing in a weird Japanese toy line. So, that'll do it for me. Thank you everyone for watching. I will see you next time. Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.